Guys, this is the video for week 7 of our distance learning. So flipping over here to the calendar view, it is the week of May 4th through the 8th, and all the assignments will be due on Monday, May 11th. So the first thing we have on here is a Newsela reading assignment. It has 2 letters, one written to President Kennedy and his response to that letter about a soldier that died very early in the Vietnam War. And I chose this to go along with Slaughterhouse-Five and to kind of give you some additional context to think about while you are considering the rhetorical situation that the novel was written in. So last week, I mentioned that the ostensible topic of Slaughterhouse-Five is the firebombing of Dresden during World War II. And of course, the novel does deal with that. But he did not, Vonnegut, who was a survivor of that bombing, did not write the novel until the very late 1960s when the Vietnam War was escalating. And so it's worth considering while you're reading the novel what the events of the Vietnam War, which he does allude to in chapter 1, and some other times within the novel, but pretty explicitly in chapter 1, how that may have spurred him on to finally finish writing this book that he'd been, in his own words, kind of working on and thinking about and planning to write for 2.5 decades by the time he finally finished it and published it. So having some primary source documents from closer to the time period when it was written might help you kind of think about that and his position as far as whether the United States should have been involved in the Vietnam War and those types of things that the book maybe addresses in small ways, even if it's not the main overarching topic. So like I said, this is an assignment on Newsela, and like I said, it's in one assignment. It has the 2 letters with I think it's a total of 8 multiple choice questions, I believe, that you'll complete there. And it's kind of weird order. I don't know why it's in this order. But we also have, as I've emailed you about separately, our final progress check on AP Classroom. So there are progress checks that they have for units 8 and 9. But since those are not tested and we were kind of a little bit behind schedule to, if we had stayed in school, if the world didn't kind of shut down on us for a while, I probably would have tried to squeeze in at least some of the Unit 8 and 9 content. But when the College Board announced back in late March, I believe, that only Units 1 through 7 would be covered on all of the AP tests, I decided to just kind of focus a little bit more on this content and not try and rush through it, especially while we're doing the distance learning and dealing with all those other challenges. So this will be the last one until you take the actual test in a few weeks now. And as I mentioned in my email, it's a rhetorical analysis essay. So this will be really good practice for the exam itself, because as I've mentioned many, many times now this year, that what's usually the Q2 is the entire test. You will have on both the progress check and the test itself one passage to read and think about and analyze, and then you'll write your essay. You'll write your essay about the strategies that the author uses and what choices they make to present their argument. So on the actual test, you'll be limited to the 45 minutes. You might choose to kind of set a timer for yourself and practice that for this progress check, but that's entirely optional. On AP Classroom, I do not have a time limit set. So if you want to, you are free to pace yourself on it for as long as you need. So getting back to Slaughterhouse-Five, we do have discussion questions for chapters 3, 4, and 5 this week. And also at the very end, I have one question about considering those primary source documents. And if you want to, that is one option to write about if they help you understand Vonnegut's rhetorical situation any better, and if so, how, and if not, why not. But then most of the questions are just about the novel itself, and hopefully they're pretty self-explanatory. But like I mentioned last week, I do know that the novel can be confusing with the time travel and aliens and everything. So if you have questions, please let me know. You can post them on the discussion board. I don't check that every day. So if it's something you're really stuck on, you can send me an email or call me. And of course, I'll have video tutorials like usual on Tuesday and Thursday. And then finally, this week, the vocabulary for Slaughterhouse-Five is due. So I think I mentioned last week that we would have it. It's shorter than the Gatsby vocabulary. As I think I mentioned, this novel just doesn't have quite the same well, I can't speak to what the specific lexile level it is, but in my inexpert but still professional English teacher opinion, the level of difficulty with the vocabulary is just not quite the same as it is with Gatsby. So there's only 16 words that I pulled that are on the list on vocabulary.com. And just a quick reminder, you will, to get full credit, it I think requires you to answer 3 or 4 questions per word till they determine that you have mastered the word. So depending on the length of your practice sessions, which I think are only 10 questions long, something like that, you'll usually have to go through at least a couple practice through multiple practice sessions to answer the or to reach that mastery level. Sorry, stumbling with my words there. I mean, you can do it all in one sitting. It probably, like I said, for 16 words shouldn't take a super long time. But and for those of you that are doing it on paper, which if you're doing it on paper, you're probably not watching this video, but just in case, to be inclusive of everyone, if you are doing it on paper, I have an example in the packet that I'll send out of sort of a chart that you can make that shows, definition, using the word in a sentence, doing some kind of an illustration, those kinds of things. So you'll still get to practice the word in a few different ways if you do the paper version. All right, so that should do it for this week. Like I said before, let me know if you have any questions, whether it's about Slaughterhouse-Five or anything else. I'm available by phone and email anytime, and I have video tutorials as usual. And we do still have discussions scheduled on Friday. It's been empty the last few weeks, but hey, cats will usually participate. So as you can see here, an example. And like I mentioned, Slaughterhouse-Five can be a challenging text, so it might be helpful. Even if you're not bored and lonely, might be a good way to work through, like I said, a novel that can be confusing at times. That being said, I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. Make good choices, and I miss y'all.